You have been lied to. For years, we've been told China is booming, that its provinces are rising, that its people are richer than ever. But what if that all was a myth? What if behind those impressive GDP numbers is a nation quietly collapsing from the inside? I'm going to show you a side of China in 2025 that state media never shows, where high GDP hides low incomes, where rich provinces feel broke, and where the middle class is disappearing faster than China's birth rate. And I know this not just from charts and graphs, but because I have seen it, because I have been to those rich cities and talked to the broke people living inside them. So buckle up. This is the real story of China's economic illusion. Let's start with the headlines. Jiangsu, China's top province for per capita GDP, 163,000 yuan per person, 3 times higher than Gansu. Sounds amazing, right? But go to Nanjing and ask a young couple trying to buy their first apartment. They'll tell you it takes 10 to 15 years of income just for a 90 square meter box. I met one guy, engineer, 2 kids, great salary, still living with his in-laws at 39 years old. And he joked that he earns like a tiger, spends like a mouse, and lives like a rat. That's the story of modern China. The GDP is high, but for ordinary people, it doesn't mean wealth. It means stress. Let's break this down. China loves showing off GDP rankings, but here's the number they never put on a billboard: disposable income. The cash that ends up in your hands after taxes, fees, housing, and basic survival. Nationally, the average people's wealth ratio, meaning disposable income divided by GDP, is only 45%. That means more than half of China's GDP doesn't go to the people. And in some provinces, it's under 40%. Think about that. You generate the wealth, but the government takes it. State-owned enterprises takes it. Real estate developers take it. You get the leftovers. This isn't an economy, it's extraction. Now, let me tell you a story from Inner Mongolia. I visited Ordos back in the day, a city with shiny new towels and empty streets. It really just looked like a post-apocalyptic Las Vegas. On paper, second highest per capita GDP in the country. Coal, rare earths, oil. But the people working those mines, getting paid a fraction of what white-collar workers in Beijing make. One miner told me, we dig out gold for the country, but eat dust at home. This is the resource curse, where GDP soars because of commodities, but the locals are stuck with dangerous jobs, low wages, and no healthcare. GDP says Ordos is rich, but look closer. It is a Potemkin province. And then there's the northeast, Heilongjiang, Jilin, Liaoning, the Rust Belt of China. Once the pride of the Mao era industrialization, now a graveyard of factories and forgotten people. Population is shrinking. Young people are fleeing. Industries are dying. And what is left? Ghost cities, hollowed out townships, local governments that can't even afford to pay civil servants. In 2023, a teacher in Harbin told me her school ran out of heating funds midwinter, and the kids were just frozen with running noses in the extremely cold northeast winter while studying algebra. That's not development, that's decay. Even in rich cities, life is no better. Beijing, Shanghai, Nanjing, you see the fancy malls, the skyscrapers, but talk to the middle class, they are buried under mortgages, childcare, and medical bills. One of my friends in Shanghai works at a top tech firm. Good income, but his wife teaches part-time, and they're just still living paycheck to paycheck, no savings, no vacation, no peace of mind, just stress every day. Why? Because in many Chinese cities, housing costs at least 20 years of income. And that's just the apartment. Add kids, elderly parents, private tutoring, healthcare, and suddenly that GDP number doesn't mean anything. You're just broke in a rich city. Now let's go back to that core number, GDP versus disposable income. This is where the system breaks. You see, GDP is an output number, right? But wealth is what people can use. In China, too much GDP is swallowed by local governments issuing debt, SOEs hoarding profits, infrastructure mega projects that don't generate returns. Meanwhile, the average citizen sees higher bills, not higher wages. This is the difference between state prosperity and people's prosperity. And right now, the state is doing just fine. The people, not so much. And here's the real danger. The middle class, the backbone of China's consumer economy, is being crushed. And when the middle class dies, so does confidence. No savings means no investment. No surplus means no risk taking. No optimism means no babies. This is how an economy stops growing. Not with a bang, but with a shrug. When everyone is too tired, too broke, or too scared to dream. And that, more than anything, threatens China's long-term future. Let's not forget the other half of China, provinces like Gansu, Guizhou, Guangxi. These places aren't just poor, they're collapsing. Their tax base shrinking, their youth gone, their debt exploding. Hospitals are underfunded, schools are shutting down, infrastructure is crumbling. And the central government keeps pouring in money, but nothing changes. These provinces are dependent on Beijing fiscally, economically, politically. And yet they lack the tools to build themselves back up. It's not just poverty, it's paralysis. So where does this leave China in 2025? Simple, divided. Wealthy provinces with rich GDPs, but people barely surviving. Middle-class families drowning in cost of living. Poor provinces sinking under the weight of debt and neglect. This is not high-quality development. This is fragmentation. And the more Beijing tries to paper over it with slogans, the more brittle the system becomes. And let me touch on the hidden monster in all of this. China's fiscal structure. Wealthy provinces like Guangdong and Jiangsu send huge tax revenues to Beijing, but they don't get much back. Meanwhile, poor provinces receive massive transfer payments, yet stay dependent. This dynamic rewards stagnation and punishes self-sufficiency, and it fuels resentment on both sides. Unless that changes, inequality will grow, and eventually even the rich provinces will break under the pressure. GDP is a number, but numbers can lie. And in China's case, they have hidden the suffering of the middle class. They have masked the collapse of the Northeast. They have buried the decay of Inner Mongolia, and they have glorified a model that no longer works. China doesn't have a growth problem, it has a distribution problem. And if the wealth doesn't reach the people, the system won't last. So the next time you hear that China's economy grew 5%, ask yourself, who actually got richer? Because if the answer isn't the people, then the whole thing is just a pyramid made of numbers, and eventually it's going to fail. If this video helped open your eyes, hit the like button, and most importantly, subscribe. This channel is where we break through the fog of propaganda with data, with stories, and with truth. Thanks for watching. I'm Ken, and I'll see you in the next one.